Hi, everybody. This is Kate Haley with Glazer's Camera here in Seattle, Washington. We are continuing our 6-week celebration of 85 years of Glazers here in Seattle. 85 years is an independent camera dealer in the Pacific Northwest with also a massive rental shop. So we have all your needs met for audio, video, photography, and rentals, and lighting, and film, and all the things. You need it, we probably have it. Anyhow, as a part of this celebration, we've brought you, like I said, weeks of programming featuring different brands, featuring different product lines. And this week, we're kind of kicking off our Panasonic weekend on a Thursday. You're like, but it's only Thursday. It's not the weekend. But we are going to start that weekend early. And we're going to bring you a great, fun conversation with two experts on the Panasonic line who are also photographers and videographers who know their stuff. So tonight's topic is video and still photography with kind of a focus on their latest camera, the S5, the Lumix S5. So without further ado, but wait, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I'm ahead of myself. I wanna let you know how you can ask questions during the session, and then I have a special announcement. So how can you ask questions during the session? You're wondering, because you know you're gonna want to. Just post those questions on the Facebook comments or in the YouTube chat. We're gonna do a little Q&A throughout. These guys are awesome. You're gonna love learning from them about still and video with that new camera. And then I have one more little announcement. So just let me remind you guys, we have a lot of special sales happening throughout this entire anniversary event. Normally it's that 2-day sale where you can come in and just kind of go crazy and buy all the things in one weekend. Now we're giving you an opportunity to like spend a little here, spend a little there, spend a little bit more here. And long story short, there's some secret promotions that are only available if you come in the store or if you sign up for these sessions. So people who sign up for these sessions get little follow-up notes with special promotions. There are things, they're so secret, I can't even say them here right now. That's all I got for right now. If you haven't signed up, go do that real quick. Just click the little checkbox. You might have to register if you haven't done that yet with Sketch. It's super easy. Check the box, save some money, potentially, maybe, okay? Get that information. All right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce a couple of gentlemen who work with Panasonic, who you might have met before or seen during some of our other live sessions that we've been hosting since April. We have Mark Toal and we have Sean Robinson. So what we'd like to do is we're going to go to Mark first, let him tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll introduce Sean. So Mark, lead it. Let's go.
Thanks, Kate, and happy anniversary to Glazers.
Thank you.
I hope I get back up to visit soon. It's been too long. So
I know, we miss you.
Anyways, if anybody hasn't been to Glazers, I assume everybody on this has probably, go down to their store. It's just beautiful, and check out Panasonic cameras while you're down there. So I'm here today with Sean Robinson. We are both supposedly technical experts, Lumix technical experts. We'll find out today. So far we've passed the test. Me for about 12 years and Sean for about 5 with Panasonic. We both are photographers. We've been in the business for a long time, working in camera stores, photo finishing, being photographers and everything. So tonight's session is the title of it is videos and stills using our new Lumix S5 full frame camera. But we want to talk about our other cameras too, and basically kind of why we think Panasonic is the best choice for people who want to shoot stills and video. Video has always been our thing that we're known for, our strength through the GH5, GH4, and all those cameras, and now into full frame. And we are also known as being a great still camera, all the way up from our point and shoot cameras up to our new full frame cameras. So we've got a little presentation. We've tried to keep it light on technical specifications and more on creative and what we do with these cameras, what Sean and I like about these cameras and why we use them, why we might use a G series camera. So if you're ready, let's start with that. And Sean and I are going to it's not the first time we've tried this, but it's close enough that we might have a couple of hiccups, but we're going to sort of pass the wand back and forth here as we go. And,
okay, sounds
so I'm
great.
Going to start. I'm more of a stills person. Sean shoots a lot of stills. I shoot more stills and less video. Sean is probably the other way around, but Sean is one of Panasonic's video experts. Gotcha. If you haven't watched, every Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern time, Sean does a program on YouTube called Lumix Live. If you go to YouTube and just look up Lumix, where he does one show a month that is called Ask Me Anything. That I wouldn't touch that show. I wouldn't be on that show for anything. It would just scare the daylights out of me. And he goes on there and answers people's questions from all over the world for an hour or so. So without
Okay.
further ado, let's talk about cameras. I'm going to share my screen here with everybody. And Kate, maybe you can tell me if this shows up properly.
Yep, I can see it. If you just hit play, there we go. And then just a quick reminder for you guys tuning in. If you have questions during the session, please don't be shy. No matter what Panasonic camera you're using, these guys are going to be able to answer it. And so just don't be shy. Post those questions in the comments or in the YouTube chat. This is also for you, so we want you to have that opportunity to ask your questions about your camera.
Exactly.
Go ahead,
if
Mark and Sean.
If it pertains to what I'm talking about, Kate will jump in and ask it. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Sean, are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Totally ready.
Good. So this is about the S5 is our newest camera. So Panasonic has been making mirrorless cameras. We started it 10, 12 years ago, quite a while ago. I was with the company, so it must have been 10 years ago. And we pioneered mirrorless cameras along with Olympus. They were micro four thirds. We still make them. We still sell a ton of GH5s, G9s, G85s for video and stills. And about maybe a year and a half ago, we moved into full frame because a lot of people want full frame cameras, and mirrorless is perfect for full frame. And so this has grown into just a large choice of cameras and lenses you can see in this picture. These are just the full frame ones. We partner with Leica, and so you've got the choice of all these Leica lenses. We also partner with Sigma for L-mount lenses. So even though the system's only been around for a year and a half, it's very robust. And in the front row there, you see the 6 lenses that we have announced for the near future. I don't have dates on those, but these are going to be the lenses that are going to be out, I don't know, probably within the next 6 months to a year at the latest. And these are the prime lenses because we've done a lot of zooms. So anyways, let's get started here and see if we can teach you something. So the neat thing about the S series, again, if you're a Panasonic user or you've just been around cameras for a while, you know about our GH5, which is one of the most popular video cameras around. It also does stills, but this is known as a video camera. It's used for everything from TV shows to just a lot of people on YouTube, all over the place. People use the GH5 for everything from weddings to again, TV shows. The G9 is our micro four thirds mirrorless still camera that also does video, but it's more of a still oriented camera. The reason I have those two up there is to show you the relationship to the new S1. They're the same size. In fact, if you look at the S5 and the G9, they feel and look almost identical. If somebody handed you one or the other, you almost couldn't tell the difference. And this is significant because that means full frame has come down to the size that is why people have bought Panasonic cameras over the years. And we're going to talk a little bit about why you might use one camera over another, because there's uses for both of them. Sean, would you want to cover this one?
Yeah, sure. So, as Mark was saying, the S5, if we isolate just the S series cameras, so just the full frame lineup that we have, we've had the S1 and the S1R, which launched the full frame platform for us. And they were built for very, kind of two different markets and users. So the S1 being the ultimate professional hybrid camera. So those that want to do, more professional stills and higher end, more professional video, and need a camera that can withstand the rigors of actual professional use. Then we also came out with the S1R, which was really targeted directly towards landscape photographers, studio fine art photographers, fashion photographers, people who your primary need is high resolution. And we shared the same body between the two cameras, the same memory card interfaces, the same viewfinders, rear screens. So there was a lot of synergy between those two models. And like Panasonic, we've been forever, as Mark pointed out, we are incredibly well known for our video capabilities. And even though the S1 at the launch, at the time when it came out, was class leading in every video spec that came out, we decided to take a step further and come out with the S1H. Now, the S1H is a true cinematic grade camera. We're talking a camera that sits in the tier of $50,000 Vericams. Same V-Log, V-Gamut that comes with it. So if you were looking for a cinematic tool to fit in a rig, to fit on, say, a Hollywood set or a very high-end wedding, that kind of thing, that's where the S1H came in. But that left a very, kind of gaping open spot for someone who wanted to get into our full frame cameras, but maybe didn't really want the larger, heavier platform from the S1, S1R, and the S1H. So along came the S5 just recently and just started shipping out. This takes a vast majority of the things that we have learned and built upon over the last year with the S1, S1R, and the S1H, and kind of refined them into the smaller body, as Mark pointed out, something very like a GH5 or a G9 body size and weight, while still giving you that full frame platform. So it still does 4K 60p 10-bit, 4K 30p 8-bit unlimited recording. It still carries 14 plus stops of dynamic range in V-Log and V-Gamut. So if you're working on a true professional workflow, you're covered. If you want something that you can just throw around your shoulder and carry around all day, you've got an amazing full frame camera here for those needs. So it really balanced out the whole system now. So you have a path if you're looking for landscape studio, professional hybrid stills, professional cinema, and then now the every person, hybrid compact body.
And to point out the difference in image quality between the S5, the S1, and the S1H is going to be very, very similar. As far as a still picture, you're going to get the same still picture, and except for some extra video features like higher bit rates, you're going to get the same picture. So the decision here would not be based on, let's say, image quality. It would
Correct.
be based on what. And speaking, you were talking about the professional uses for these cameras. What's the show that's now on Apple TV that was filmed with the S1?
Yeah, so just recently, if anybody is a motorcycle fan or a fan of Ewan McGregor or Charlie Boorman, the show Long Way Up, which is following Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman's motorcycle ride from the tip of South America to Los Angeles, was filmed on the Lumix S1 cameras. Now, the reason this is actually really cool is that they made that entire ride on electric Harley-Davidson live wires. So it's an electric motorcycle. And out of the entire process of that entire shoot, which took a couple of months, the cameras were the one solid, reliable tool for the entire trip. So I encourage you, if you have an Apple TV Plus subscription, check out Long Way Up. It is a beautifully filmed show. And full transparency, they don't use just Lumix cameras on it. It shows its professional stance that it can mix with cameras like ARRI, which were the true larger cinema cameras used on it. But it's one of the reasons why you would look at a camera like this for severely adverse conditions versus something like an S5 or some of the other cameras where, even though they are still weather resistant, still, built to a very similar level, the S1, the S1R, and the S1H are going to give you that next step up.
Exactly. Okay, thanks, Sean.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quick, Mark, the presentation's coming in through a little bit pixelated. Could you try stopping your screen share and then relaunching it to see if we can fix that? Because it looked great when we did the test before. So just maybe stop screen sharing and then let's start again with the screen sharing.
Okay, let's try it.
And it's really cool about that show. I'd heard about that show recently, but I haven't seen it yet.
Is that any better?
Oh, that looks so much. Oh.
What happened?
What happened? It worked. It looked great for like a second, and now it's
Okay,
not
let
so
me try
hot.
stop sharing. And now I've checked these two things here on the screen that maybe I shouldn't have checked. Let me try.
It's coming in at like 2K.
Let me try unchecking
It's like
this.
coming in at super high resolution, but it's
Yeah.
okay. That looks better. I think it's. Oh, but it doesn't look good anymore.
Wow. God. And I've got quite a bit of bandwidth too, which is weird. I'm not.
Well, Devin says it's coming in at really high resolution, so we don't understand why this is happening.
Got to be Devin's fault. Yeah.
Well,
it's only
you
the
know.
engineer's fault, isn't it? I mean,
Well,
it's only
you
the
know.
engineer's fault, isn't it? I mean,
I'm a
no,
pretty
Sean and I
good
are just technical
scapegoat.
experts.
There.
Okay, don't touch it, except that
No,
you need to advance
it's
it.
me.
Don't go to the. I'll just talk about this slide for the next 40 minutes.
Let's
Okay.
just, can we just talk about that one slide forever?
What if I?
Okay. So
What-
again,
hey.
I'm gonna talk more about the still photography side of
Okay.
this.
That
And
looks
I hope
way
you can see
better.
this picture. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's beautiful.
Devin Fix.
Is that,
Oh, thank
what
you.
mountain is that? Where was that shot? What is it?
Thank you. So I hope you can see this picture clearly, because you can
Yes.
in the one I'm looking at in the original, you can just count every branch on every tree, which is why I choose a full frame camera for scenic pictures like this, because I do want every detail. I want people to get lost in the detail of the trees and the rocks. Now, one of the reasons I have down here at the bottom, you say it's with the 20 to 60 millimeter lens, which is the kit lens for this camera. The camera is available as a body only, but as a kit with this brand new 20 to 60 millimeter lens. And I love this. I get this all the time where people go, "Oh, it's the kit lens, like it's trash." And it's not. So nowadays, and not just on Panasonic cameras, a kit lens is just as sharp as a high-end lens. It's just usually doesn't have as fast an aperture. It doesn't let in as much light, but it's still an excellent lens. And so anyways, I'm going to talk about this lens a little bit more. This is one I took here. I'm in Portland, Oregon, by the way. Sean's in Austin, Texas. And this is Mount Hood and Trillium Lake, I think it is, if anybody's interested in where it is, because we are in the Northwest. Okay. But the thing I like most about this camera, there's one feature I love about this camera, and this I want to compare to our G series cameras and smaller sensor cameras. So this camera, like the S1H, has something called dual native ISO. What that means, I took all the technical part off of this slide. What that means is most cameras have a single native ISO, it's called. So let's say you start shooting at ISO 400, that's where its optimal quality is. As the ISO goes up, the quality goes down. It gains noise and it loses dynamic range. And when you start to get to about 3200, you notice it. And at 6400, you really notice it. What dual native ISO does is we've built two circuits onto the sensor. So now when the ISO starts to go up and the picture starts to gain noise and lose dynamic range, it hits a certain point in the ISO when the other circuit kicks in and the picture is clean again, and that starts over. So what that does is it's hard to tell in this picture of this car, but I went to an extremely dark museum that's here in Hood River, Oregon. If you've ever been to the WAM Museum, Western Air and Automobile, it's dark in there. And to get any depth of field on this dashboard, I had to shoot at ISO 12,800 so I could shoot at f11 so I could get the fuzzy dice and the numbers on the dials and still be able to handhold this. I own 5 tripods and I've never used one. I think they're so cool, but I don't use them. So what this does is this allows me to change my ISO, which, I mean, I've been around a long time and I shot film and you would never go above 400. Now to think of going to 12,800 or to regularly shoot at an ISO of 4,000 like I did with this one. Now, you may look at this picture and go, well, why, I put this online and somebody said, why the heck did he shoot this at ISO 4000? This is stupid. Well, I live in Portland, Oregon, and you live in Seattle, and it's frequently very dark here. And this was on a rainy day, you can tell by the raindrops on there, and it was windy. So by just being able to crank my ISO up to 4000, I'm able to shoot at a shutter speed of, let's say, a 500th and still shoot at f8 or 11. So I get the full depth of field across that flower. So again, a lot of times I still probably prefer to carry our smaller cameras like the G9 because the lenses are smaller, even though the body is the same. But in the G9, I'm not comfortable going above, let's say, 16 or 3200. A full frame camera just frees me to shoot anywhere, anytime. You know, if I'm out at night, there's no thinking, oh, it's too dark, or I need to use a tripod, or I need to put this on a ledge or something. You know, this is the lens. The other neat thing I love about this lens is I'm a wide angle shooter. I like to shoot things like the Trillium Lake at 20 millimeters. I'm a street photographer. Kate and I have talked about this. She is too. And 20 millimeters is the thing for me. And most cameras, in even Panasonic, our kit lenses have always stopped at 24. They've always been the widest we could do. And in fact, one of our competitors just introduced a new camera that starts at 28, which to me is very 1990s. So to have a kit lens like this that starts at 20 but still goes to 60, where even if I wanted to shoot a picture of my granddaughters, I could still get, you know, a nice perspective on it. This is the difference. So the outside of this picture is 24 millimeters, which is the usual kit lens, and I'm sorry, the frame. And the outside of it is 20 millimeters, which shows how much more you can get in. So, and again, it's just a beautiful lens, and it's extremely light. So it fits the camera perfectly. The other neat thing about this lens is it's not officially a macro. We can't say that because it's not really a one-to-one magnification. But at 20 millimeters, this was shot at 20 millimeters, and this is not a large leaf. It looks like it here on the screen, but this leaf is just probably 4 inches across. But I can literally get close enough to something that it's a macro when I'm shooting at 20 millimeters. So the range on this lens is just incredible. And the lens is, if you buy it with the body, it's extra $300. If you buy it separately, it's only $600. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean. This is a still feature, but this is one that Sean is particularly adept at.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, as you know, Mark was saying, the S5 and that 20 millimeter lens, they open up a lot of flexibility for someone who wants to get into full frame photography, and you want to have something that can really give you a wide selection of shooting environments. And the S5 and the G95, well, to be open with everybody, the S5, the G95, and the G100 all have this feature that expand your creativity even further and really set it so that the camera takes a step out of your kind of annoyance. Let's put it that way. And that feature is called Live View Composite. Now, if you're from one of the other camera brands, you've heard of this feature before. So it's not necessarily a new thing in the industry, but for the S5, this is the first time it's been implemented in a full frame camera that really takes advantage of what this feature is capable of. Anybody who's done night sky photography or have been on the sessions that I've done with Glazers here for night sky photography, this is a bit of follow-up to what we talked about last time. And typically for photographing the night sky, photographing any kind of starscape, you have a couple of challenges ahead of you. Either you're going to go to shoot for long star trails like you see in these pictures here, or you want to shoot for pinpoint stars. And the latter of those two is typically a relatively, it's an easier thing to do when you're working out in a, kind of really dark environment. But in situations like you see in this photo here on the left, there's so much light pollution in this image that when you try to do the pinpoint stars, you're typically not going to be able to get the stars because the light pollution is going to fill the image. So that means you're going to probably move to star trails. And when you use the normal kind of accepted way of doing long exposure star trails, you run into an image that looks like this. You get the light pollution filling up the horizon. The stars are there, but they're not really the greatest. It's really hard to see what this image should look like. What Live View Composite does is allow you to take multiple shorter exposure images all in camera at a very specific point where you don't want anything brighter than, say, on the image in the right, the little bright spot in the middle where the town is. So what this does is it lets you take one image that sets kind of the base highlight area, which would be the village. And then it'll just keep running and adding exposures on top of that at the same length for any new light information. Now, this means that you can do light trail images in the middle of a city that is fully lit and still capture the actual stars that are over the sky. Or, Mark, if you go to the next slide, if you go to this, which is just outside of Austin, Texas, down here, those are the actual stars above the city skyline. Now, if I did this image in a standard, just put the camera on bulb, give it a 1 hour exposure, because that's how long this exposure was, to do long enough trails, you wouldn't be able to see anything in the sky. The light pollution from the bridge that's behind me, from the city itself, would just completely demolish any ability to see stars in the skies over Austin, or any city for that matter. But because of this intelligent live view composite mode, I can isolate out the highlights. I can isolate out the bright parts of an image and create this in camera. And on the next image that I shot with this, that I believe was uploaded into there. Yeah. So as you can see here, this is not the best example I have of it, but it was the quickest one I was able to do the other day. This is the same exact feature, that live view composite. So you can do light painting with this. And as I said, I'm in the middle of a well-lit downtown city, and I can still see the stars in the sky. Obviously, I need to clean the lens off on my camera the next time I go out and try to do one of these. But the reason this is so cool and this is so important, and why I wanted to point out that it's in the S5, the G95, and the G100, is that this is something that you can do with any camera. If you have any Lumix camera that we have, you can still technically do this. It's a little bit more complicated. You have to go into Photoshop and actually work with layers and work with only adding the highlight parts, the brightest additions, that kind of thing. It's doable. But the fact that the camera lets you do it in camera without any extra time or effort needed is why this is such an exciting feature in this camera. And you have a couple of paths for it. You have the Micro Four Thirds travel ready companion camera, which is in the G95 or the G100. And you have the full frame, more professional area that's going to let you shoot at higher ISOs to have a cleaner image in the S5. So,
And one thing I love about, and I think you mentioned it, but my favorite feature about this is you watch it draw it on the back of the camera.
Yes.
Yeah, you watch it create it. So when Sean got those star trails in this one here, which I love this picture, when he saw this picture on the back, he can push the shutter button and stop the process. Yeah.
Exactly. You decide when the image is done. You're not having to wait for those situations where, okay, I've shot the image, it's been an hour-long exposure. If you're someone who shoots like me that leaves long exposure noise reduction on, an hour-long exposure means an hour long of dark frame noise reduction. So that means that instantly that image is ready. I can take it, send it to my phone, start doing the edits in Lightroom Mobile or whatever mobile raw editing platform you have, or wait to get home and do it on a real computer. And it's made nighttime shooting so easy, and it's so much fun being able to do it between the S series and the G95, especially since, like we were talking about with the long way up thing, I ride motorcycles too. So having the ability to have this feature in a Micro Four Thirds camera as well for us is huge. I'm not missing anything between them.
Exactly. And I didn't realize I didn't see which image you put in here earlier today. This is beautiful. Go ahead.
So yeah, one of the other cool things, and this is where it kind of bridges that area for landscape photographers. Yes, the S5, yes, a lot of the S1 have a 24 megapixel sensor, which is 9 out of 10 times more than enough resolution for most of us. But there are those times when you're shooting a landscape and you really want, as Mark said, you want to see all of those trees. You want to see all of those little tiny details in that image. So we have high resolution mode built in the entire S series lineup. So S1, S1R, S1H, and the S5. And the G9 has high resolution mode as well. What you get in this mode that's been improved on the S5 is that you have the ability now to do JPEG in camera, which the other cameras at this point don't have it. But you can also do much longer exposures with it. So this was one of the shots. This is under First Street Bridge in, again, downtown Austin. You can tell I love this city. I photograph it all the time. But this is a high resolution image at night with 8 images that are 8 seconds each. Now, a lot of people have criticized high resolution modes in cameras because they say, well, it's not really usable for landscapes because the wind blows or the water moves and the trees move. Well, yes, but at the same time, if I was to do this image as an 8-second image, as a standard image, the trees are still going to move, the water is still going to move, and the buildings are still going to slightly move depending on how windy it is. What's cool is that the mode that's in this camera for mode 2 cancels out unplanned motion. So anything that's not in a singular image of motion gets canceled out, or you can leave it so that it blurs all of those images together. And I think what's so cool about this is that you retain so much detail. So like we said, with the S5, you get 96 megapixels in high resolution mode because it's eight shots of 24 megapixel, which means you multiply the basic resolution by 4. Or in the G9, it's 80 megapixel because you're taking a 20 megapixel and just multiplying it by 4. I did that math right?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, this just broadens that capability for you so that if you are a landscape photographer, you can be comfortable in a 20 megapixel or a 24 megapixel camera and know that you've got the resolution there if you need it. Takes a little bit longer to shoot, and we're talking like a couple seconds longer to shoot than a standard photo, but the results are amazing, especially in the new S5.
And the nice thing is too, you can also set the camera to take a normal picture at the same time. And just in case too much does move in it, or like what happened to me, I was shooting one of these and a car went down the street behind me and vibrated the tripod. I still have an image. So
Exactly.
Do you want to talk about this? Is a video I shot. Let's start showing this, and then I'll have Sean take over talking about video. So again, this is the high ISO, the dual ISO feature that I think is so important in these cameras. Now, because of COVID, I haven't been able to shoot much with the S5 using the dual ISO. This was just the S1H, but it would be the same quality. It's a very similar sensor and a very similar. This is in downtown Portland. This was a nighttime festival. I hope this plays okay.
Wide load.
ISO 16. Whoops. Hold on a second. ISO. Whoops. Okay. How do I get the video to play? Just hit this. Nope. How do I get the video to play? Oh no, we thought we rehearsed everything here. Come on.
Wide load.
Now this introduces one other thing. So I'm not a videographer. So this is in full auto with me setting the camera to ISO 16,000, hand holding it, which introduces what a lot of Panasonic cameras have. All of them have stabilization, but a lot of our cameras have dual stabilization, which is lens and sensor only, which lets me shoot a video like this on a cold night, handheld, while this thing is going by. And this wasn't rehearsed. I looked over, saw this going by, and quickly started shooting. So,
Hey, Mark.
Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit more about video features.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Mark, real quick.
Yeah.
What was the frame rate on that video? Because we know that Zoom likes to play them back fairly slow, so we were
7
curious.
frames a second.
They were playing it back at 7 frames per second, so I was curious what your frame rate was.
Well, I shot it at 7 frames. What's wrong with 7 frames a second?
Like the good old days of
It's
film.
even more cinematic than 24. It really is.
Okay.
Now, I know that, and I hate to show videos on this, but
Well,
it was
we have
shot
a
at 30
fix.
frames a second. But I know
The next
because of
time we do-
bandwidth and Zoom, it does slow it way down. So
Yeah, but the next time you do one, you'll just send us the video and we'll play it locally, because that
I
typically
love
works
that.
better.
Oh, God.
We have a fix.
It's
So
amazing. I
I
love
should have thought about
technology.
it since this is also video, not just still. But next time.
Okay.
Next time. We got this. All right.
Next
Let's keep going.
Saturday, in fact. Saturday. Okay.
Cool.
Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah. So for those that want to utilize cameras in general, and in this case, we're really focusing on the S5 in this image here. Heat becomes one of those things that actually can really become a challenge if you're a professional shooter, and if you're just a casual, kind of snapshot style shooter. Lumix cameras from day one have always been designed to be reliable tools and reliable cameras. And I make a little bit of a distinction there because when you're talking about a professional grade camera, it's a tool. When we want to just go out and photograph and just kind of hang around with it, that's where I just consider it a standard camera. And at Panasonic, there's no differentiation there. No matter what purpose that it's being used for, it has to be reliable. And thermals, if you are someone who follows all of the tech stuff that's been going online, thermals are one of those things that have popped up recently that are a real hindrance in a lot of cameras out in the market. With Panasonic, we have never had those problems because we've known that from day one, if you say a camera has to do something, or if you say that a camera is going to record unlimited, or that a camera has, say, in the S5's case, a 30-minute limit for 10-bit recording, it has to be able to do that. And it has to be able to do that every time you hit the video record button. And because of that, it also means that you can't take time using it as a photography tool and then go to flip to video and realize that, oh no, I can't shoot any video because the camera got too hot because I was using it as a camera. So what we've done with the S5, the S1H, is basically where the industry tests their cameras to 70 degrees, which is just kind of standard ambient room temperature. We test them so that they have to hit those numbers at 104 degrees. So I took the S5 when I first got the camera and I brought it out onto the back porch down here in Austin, Texas. It was 114 degrees out that day. This is in a shaded part of my patio, but I basically set the camera up and just clicked record and let it, when it would hit the 30-minute, click record again. When it hit the 30-minute, click record again. And I did that for 3 hours straight. That's the level of detail that our team puts into all of our cameras, whether it's a camera that is actually rated for this kind of level of performance or a camera that we don't really talk about it. They're all designed to be the actual professional tool that you would expect a camera to be, so that you're not blindsided in the middle of a wedding. You're not blindsided in the middle of a family vacation with the camera saying, oh no, I can't shoot. I need to cool down for 20 minutes to an hour. You can just keep shooting and shooting and shooting. And like we said, this is the same for the S5, the G9, the G95, the G100. Every single camera that you get from Panasonic, you're going to have a reliable tool. Yeah,
exactly.
Now, continuing on with that, we talked about obviously the video features in the S5, and for those that are heavy video users, the S5 is going to be no slouch in this case. You can see all of the crazy 10-bit recording that we can do internally, and with a firmware update coming by the end of the year, the camera will also be able to output raw data over HDMI, very similar to what we do in the $4,000 S1H. So again, you're getting a professional tool for a more acceptable price if you're just trying to get into it. So you don't have to think of any of the cameras as being, crippled or hurt just because it's a less expensive camera. It will be a reliable working tool for you.
And that's kind of what we're trying to convey in this presentation is there are other cameras that do stills with the same specifications this camera does, but the combination of video and stills makes this a professional video and a professional stills camera both,
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So one of the cool things that is actually out, obviously, everyone loves recording slow motion. Everything looks cooler in slow motion. So the S5, just like a lot of our cameras, the G100, they have the slow and quick option. So you can do up to a 7.5 times slow motion or up to a 60 times quick motion. And I think we have a video from Mike Richardson out in California. showing that hyperlapse kind of motion. So
yeah, and if you're not familiar with hyperlapse is, you can do this with a still camera. If you hold the camera very steady or put it on a gimbal and you walk shooting at a very low frame rate or shoot stills, this will be interesting to see how it plays, Kate, because this one's actually much faster. So this is meant to be, so this is at 4 frames per second. He's got the camera just on a little tiny tripod on his dashboard. And basically what it does is, if this was a regular video, we'd be pretty bored by now. But this is going to take us across to Balboa Island in LA in about 10 seconds.
And that's actually, I think, one of the cool things too for a lot of people out there. You know, we've heard of time lapse, we've heard of you know, the kind of more traditional ways to use features like that. And if you want to compress time, if you want to show a journey, this is such a cool feature to be able to utilize that, again, it travels across from the G series into the S series, and the S5 has a little bit easier of a platform to use it like the G100 does. It just gives you that next level of creativity that most of the time you're not going to be able to get in other cameras.
Exactly. And the stabilization makes this so that he can just mount this on the dashboard of his car and get a video like this. So
yeah.
Oops, let's go to the next slide instead.
Now, I think one of the most misunderstood things about a lot of the cameras, this is not just for Panasonic, this is across the board, is the whole concept of HDR video. Now, Mark and I were talking about this earlier today, that, you know, when we look at this, HDR is not the traditional way that we've all thought of HDR if you're coming from the photography background, where, you know, you're merging multiple images to pull highlight, shadow, and then super saturate the image. With video, HDR is just an expanded brightness. So the last time, whenever the last time was that you may have walked into a display where you see a bunch of HDR TVs or any kind of TV in a store or anything like that. HDR is becoming one of the most common ways that people are consuming content, whether it's on YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, any of those video platforms where you consume content. The S5, the G9, and a number of other Lumix cameras all support the HLG HDR spec, which you can see here. All it means is that when you shoot video in those profiles and you put it directly onto a TV over, say, an HDMI cable, or if you're someone who actually works with those files in something like Premiere or Final Cut, you're going to actually have something that you can then output onto an HDR TV and see it in its true, like, ultra bright, true to life dynamic range. And if you circle back and watch that long way up, the whole thing, the reason the S1 was chosen for that, aside from its robust nature, was that it's capable of shooting true HDR content, not a kind of faux 8-bit HDR. It's able to do a true HDR content that is required by Apple, required by Netflix, required by Amazon Studios for the video productions. It's becoming the standard, and you have this access in pretty much, well, a vast majority of the Lumix cameras, whether they're full frame S series or micro four thirds.
One of my favorites. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark.
Well, can I cover the first one there? So
oh, yes.
My other favorite feature on this camera is this recording frame indicator. What this means is, I think if you're like me, you've done this thing where you've pushed the button to shoot video, but you didn't push it hard enough and it didn't start. And then you pushed to stop and it started, and you photographed yourself carrying the camera for 5 minutes. And because when you push record on most cameras, all you get is a little blinking red light, which outdoors you can't see. Now, when you go and push the record button for video, it puts a whole red box around that screen, and you can't miss when it's recording. So, yeah, I'll let you explain frame marker and vertical video, but I just love that feature. It's like every time I see it, it's like, I'm recording.
Yeah. And that's that kind of point that the S5 is a carry down from a lot of the things we've learned and built on in something like the S1H. That is a direct feature brought down from the S1H that's found its way into the S5. It found its way into the G100. So the next two things that we have here is frame markers and vertical video. So when you talk about frame markers, this is one of those things where we at Panasonic are looking at, what is the market's request? What do a lot of people want in a camera that will help them be able to create content for the new generation of people consuming video content? And that's where frame markers and guidelines came into this type of camera. Originally, these are things that used to be reserved for cameras in the 4,000 and up price point. So what this does is it lets you put an actual frame guideline around the active area for what you're recording. So you'll see that you have some cinema style frame rates, which are the really long looking ones at the top. So 239:1, all the way to 185:1. Those are what cinematographers or high-end video production are going to look at. But for the average person going out wanting to shoot, say you want to be able to send a video up on Instagram, or you want to shoot a video and have it ready to go for Instagram TV, but then also you want to be able to use it for YouTube so that you can have a full width. Well, we've added a number of social media guidelines into this camera, which would be 5:4, 1:1, 4:5, and most importantly, 9:16. These allow you to shoot in the standard landscape, so 16:9, what we're all used to shooting with, but still have the ability to put a frame marker and a guideline, which says when you put this into something like Instagram TV, it's going to crop this center 9:16 aspect ratio area out of the video. So you get dual purposes out of one single video shooting. The frame mask is something that just goes over the outside, what's called the quote non-active area for your recording. The content is still there. It's still going to record everything that's under there, but you just have a guideline to say, okay, this is where I need to keep my subject focused. But for those situations where you don't need the horizontal video, you just want to be able to shoot vertical because that's where the content's going. You have the actual vertical video option. All you have to do is turn the camera vertical. It tags the video footage properly. So when you send it to your phone, when you send it into any kind of editing platform that you're going to work on, it actually shows up as vertical. So you don't have to do anything to it anymore. It used to be a pain to flip a horizontal video vertical, knowing the right direction to have it flip because the app might not do it right. And you maximize the amount of quality that you have there. So you really get a ton of flexibility for both professional use, but then also for the casual use when you want to share that video with your friends and family.
And one thing, we don't have a slide about Wi-Fi, but of course, all of our cameras have Wi-Fi. So you can shoot that vertical video, transfer it right to your phone or tablet and put it on TikTok or YouTube or wherever you want to put it. I'm a big TikTok person, of course.
Yeah, TikTok, as long as you're still able to download it.
Exactly. So I'm going to do this one with I talk about all these favorite features, but I love time lapse. Okay, I had to learn time lapse basically because we put it in our camera. This is in all of our cameras. This goes down to even our lowest point and shoot, the S70 or 80. So any Lumix camera you buy has built-in time lapse. And the beauty is you can not only designate how many frames you want to shoot and the interval between them. Like this one here, I set the tripod up in a hotel right by Glazer's, by the Space Needle, and pointed it out the window. And I had it shoot a picture, I think, every 5 seconds for a couple hours while I went to dinner. The camera shoots away. I come back from dinner. On the back of the camera, it says, I'm finished. Do you want me to make the video? And I just push the button and I make a video and I get something like this, which I just thought was so cool. And again, it's probably not showing is at the right speed, but you can get the idea. You see the lights come on in the building. This is at dusk. And so basically you in the real video, and you can see this actually, if you go to YouTube and do a search for my name, this is I'm sorry, in Vimeo, you see the elevator going up and down the Space Needle. And again, built into all of our cameras. Oops, and I hit the wrong button again there. Okay, next slide. Go, you want to do this one, Sean?
Sure. With all the Panasonic cameras that have been coming out recently, we, namingly the S5 for right now, we've updated a lot of our focusing capabilities. where we use our DFD system, which provides face and eye tracking and animal detection in the newer cameras. We've expanded it even further than we've been doing in the past. Now you're getting head recognition. So for situations where if you've got face and eye detection turned on, and your subject or your family member or person turns their head to the profile, it can still detect, oh, hey, there's a head there. That's where I need to keep my focus. It's also able to detect faces and humans, like human body, like the forms, at much smaller percentages of the frame. So that means that it'll pick up and switch from body detection to face detection at a much further distance away from the camera. And the core of this just means that under the hood, it's picking up a lot more of the work for autofocusing than cameras that we've have done in the past. So it becomes a faster, more reliable system that doesn't have the image degradation issues that some PDAF systems out there can provide. You're getting the top quality image that's possible with a very forward-thinking, adaptable focusing system.
Now, one thing I'd like to mention here is that Sean and I are both using Lumix cameras as our source. I'm using a Lumix GH5, and I'm using face detection, so it's basically just staying focused on me all the time. And just a couple days ago, you can either use this with something like, I have an ATM Mini, which is made by Blackmagic that I bought from Glazer's. But you can also use it with Panasonic's new Tether software, which allows you to plug this right into the USB port on your computer and use it as a webcam or do live streaming. And Sean, these features, one nice thing about Panasonic is we're going to do a firmware upgrade to the S1, S1R, and S1H to bring these new focusing features to those cameras. So that's a nice thing about Panasonic is we don't abandon you if you bought a camera.
Right.
So if you bought an S1 last year, you don't have to complain. We're going to bring it up to this level.
Hey guys.
Yes.
I just, that's really cool because I'm a fan of those firmware updates I know on my camera system too. So it's really great that you guys are forward thinking like that. It's 5:53, so we have just a few minutes left. I wasn't sure where we were at in the little presentation, so I just wanted to kind of give that reminder that we're getting close to 6.
We will
and right now we're kind of quiet on the questions front. So, you know, I don't know what you guys have left to talk about.
We only have a couple more, so we'll go through it. So we talked a little bit about image stabilization. It's in the body and the lens, not all of the lenses, but it's in the body. So this is one thing that Panasonic is known for, that you can handhold this camera. It gives you 6.5 stops of image stabilization. This camera it's different from the S1, S1H, and S1R in the sense that two things. One is the viewfinder is half the resolution of the other cameras. It's still high resolution, but those are extremely high. And this one does have the free angle monitor, flippy screen, whatever you want to call it. We listened to our customers and we brought that back for people who want to do vlogging and selfie type situations. It's dust and splash resistant, as Sean talked about. And so it's perfect in Portland and Seattle for our rainy year-long rain. So pretty much, I think this might be our last slide. We are part of the group. I don't know it's consortium or whatever with the L-mount consortium with Panasonic, Leica, and Sigma. And what this means is a lot of support. There's a lot of cameras. There's a lot of lenses. There's a lot of future to this system with these 3 companies supporting it. And that's it. How's that, Kate? We did okay.
Oh, what do you mean? You did more than okay. You guys did great, as always. So lots of information, very informative, and very well thought out. So that was super beneficial to those folks, especially if you're like new to that camera, right? Some features maybe you hadn't known about yet. Or if you've been thinking about that camera, now you know all the things you can do. I'm sitting there, I'm still going back to the Star Trail photos going, I want to do that.
I know.
It's so much fun.
Well, I mean, I've done that, but not like, you know, in a single shot. I feel like I'm going to have a second camera to do that because I'd be taking photos of other things while I was waiting for that really long exposure.
It ends up making it like so little stress for doing that style of photography. I hated doing that kind of photography, even though I loved it, because I'd have to come back home, have all those pictures on the computer, and then
Oh,
go
right,
into
and
Photoshop
stack
and spend an
'em.
hour or 2 hours doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally fair.
this has made it so much
Totally
easier.
fair.
Just
Oh,
seeing
yeah,
it on the
absolutely.
back and just being able to, if you mess it up, you just stop it and start again. So.
And
Well,
that,
Kate, thank
that
you,
would
and happy
probably be a
anniversary to
thing I might do.
Glazers. And we're
yeah,
gonna
no,
be
thank
doing
you
2 more
guys so
classes.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for all of this. I know it was, we had a small group with us viewing tonight. But like I said, this will actually stay up on our YouTube channel so people can come back and watch it again. Folks who are brand new to S5, again, could come back and pick up a few tips on their camera. And like I said, those who are maybe thinking about getting one, this would help them make some calls probably. What should I get, you know?
Exactly.
So, okay. So we're just a couple of minutes out. Do you guys have any like parting thoughts before I kind of close this out? Because I do have a few things to share with those tuning in.
No, I'm fine. You got anything, Sean?
I think I'm good. You know,
Okay.
Always happy to come in here and work with you guys over at Glazers.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
and one of these days, like you said, Mark, I know that potentially there's going to be some travel soon in the future. We're not quite ready for in-store events yet, but you know, our hope is to start making that happen in the coming days or in the coming months, more likely. What I do want to let folks know, if you're tuning in, we have 2 more Panasonic events. Those are both happening on Saturday. We have a Panasonic ambassador, Todd White, and either of you guys know him? Could you share a little bit about Todd?
Yes, I can, because Todd's from the town next from me in
nice.
in Texas.
Okay.
Todd is an amazing fashion fine art a fashion photographer and videographer. He
Right.
does crazy work on Instagram and with high-end professional clients with different brands. He has that very like cool kind of modern style that you find on Instagram. But he also does a ton of professional high-end corporate work. So
Okay.
I'm so excited that he's teaching during this weekend.
Yeah. So we have him at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. And then at 2 p.m., we have another session, and that's going to be Mark with Michael Richardson, who also works with Panasonic. And they're going to kind of lead a little battle of a conversation, I think. Is it going to be a battle? Full frame
No.
or micro four thirds? Is it a battle or is it going to be a friendly like match?
It's a
of, like,
friendly disagreement.
It's a friendly match? Okay. I'm making it dramatic.
We'll make it a little dramatic. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Not
we
like
don't
the
have to.
debate. Don't get
Right?
your
Oh
hopes
yeah.
up.
No. We don't want to talk about that. Let's focus. Do I need to moderate? Okay, we have to have rules for Saturday now. Okay, join us on Saturday. Be sure to sign up. There are super secret promotions happening during these events. So be sure to sign up. It's a quick little sign up. Check that little box that says you're interested in these sessions. Specific sessions have specific promos. So if there's more than one session or topic or product that you're interested in, just go sign up for all of them. It's totally fine. You'll receive a little follow-up email if you have signed up for this session with that super secret promotion. So Mark and Sean, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I will see you again, Mark, on Saturday. And Sean, will talk to you soon. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Okay, you too.
Thank you,
Take care.
guys. Thank you, Kate.